are live. Great. We are. Systems go.
All right. Whoa. This is really trippy.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So we have a very special guest with us today. This is Tomal.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everybody.
Salam. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure, yeah. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. This is a privilege, and I'm so excited to join you and everybody else at home today. My name is Tomal. I use he, him pronouns, and I study ethnomusicology at the University of Chicago, which is basically like the anthropology of music. I'm also a musician, so I perform Hindustani classical music and Bengali traditional music for the most part. And yeah, my research is on Rohingya music, specifically among Rohingya refugees living in Bangladesh today. So yeah, I study this genre of song called tarana, which is in the Rohingya context a song genre that centers the Rohingya nation in many different respects. And so the Rohingya national homeland of Arakan, which is in western Burma, but also Rohingya experiences of displacement, living in prolonged in prolonged displacement, and aspirations for the future. And this is my first time doing this live stream, so yeah, I'm not super experienced at this, so I hope I don't mess up too much.
No,
and
you're great.
I hope it's okay.
I'm still learning this as well. This is a relatively new endeavor doing these live streams as well, so we're all learning together.
Cool. Okay.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything else that our audience should know about Rohingya culture or history or identity, maybe for those who possibly have never even heard the word before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, the Rohingya people are a Muslim majority people, indigenous to Western Burma, aka Myanmar. So Arakan is the historic name for the state in Burma where the Rohingya people call home. It's also known as Rakhine State. The name changes are politically charged as well, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
And in 2017, there was a mass exodus of Rohingya people to Bangladesh, which is just west of Burma and just east of India. So about 750,000 people left Burma at that time to join Rohingya refugees who had already been living in Bangladesh for like about 35 years at that point in time, or about 30 years at that point in time. And at this point in time, there's actually an ongoing influx of even more Rohingya people from Burma into Bangladesh. There's about 1.3 million people now living in refugee camps in Bangladesh. And the reasons for what's known as the Rohingya genocide are very complex.
Sure.
And originate with British colonial rule and divide and conquer policy in South Asia, British Burma and British India. And there have been various points in time in which the Rohingya people have been displaced across the border into Bangladesh. Over the course of about 70 years, Rohingya people have been sort of disenfranchised en masse. And so it's very tragic and traumatic context that I work in. And I'm just really privileged. I'm not Rohingya myself, and so I'm really privileged to have met the people that I've met who are very many incredible musicians who have informed the research that I do. And yeah, I mean, tarana is more of a modern genre that foregrounds the nation. but obviously there are many other traditional genres of Rohingya music that I don't study, but are wonderful as well.
Sure, and maybe what's one distinctive thing about tarana?
Oh, so tarana is interesting. Most tarana songs are sung from the kind of first person plural point of view and are often addressed kind of reflexively to the Rohingya people. And so it's like on behalf of the Rohingya people to the Rohingya people. So for instance, the speaker of a given song might say, oh, Rohingya people, come together in, harmony and mutual benefit, and or oh, we are the Rohingya people, and then oh, Rohingya people, you have suffered so much. And so it's a kind of like interesting first person kind of plural perspective, even if the speaker is a single vocalist, right? And another thing is that oftentimes Rohingya taranas are kind of like adapted from pre-existing melodies. Okay. Like most of them are actually, and a lot of them are like Bollywood songs or just all kinds of songs, kind of from the region. So it's usually possible to kind of pick out, oh yeah, that's a traditional Bengali song, or that's like a pop song, or that's a whatever. So they're very flexible, and actually another really probably the most important thing is that they're often semi-improvised or fully improvised, both lyrically and melodically, because most Rohingya musicians are not literate in any language, and so oftentimes people sing from what is known as to sing from the heart. There are actually two categories of singers. One is a gayen and another is a gayok. So a gayen is someone who doesn't sing from lyrics, any written lyrics, but rather just sings from the heart. So that's a very interesting aspect, I think, of tarana performance.
Sounds like there's a really strong element of the we aspect of it, and then of the you're creating it as you go, and that's collective. And there's the heartfelt nature of it and the oral tradition of it. Yeah. Well, you are really walking in with so much from your own traditions, from your research, from all of your experience as a musician. What would you like to share first?
Well, thank you. So actually, this is a Rohingya song that I brought with me today, and it's not a tarana, but it is composed by a very close and dear friend and like my research assistant, who is Rohingya, and he's born and raised in a refugee camp in Bangladesh. He was born in 1992, so he's lived in that camp for his whole life, and he has kids and everything who are also stateless and also live in the refugee camp. So he composes, his name is Osman Goni, and so Osman composes lots of songs, including taranas and other genres of song. So this is what's known as generally kind of spiritual song. So it's, it has a sort of Sufi leaning to it. It's not like really strictly naming any Sufi saints, or like, doesn't really have all of the vocabulary that you would expect of a kind of quintessential sort of Sufi poem or something like that, or the kind of typical metaphors that you might expect, but it is a spiritual song in a sort of Sufi style, I guess, that Osman wrote and composed. And so I texted you the lyrics. I don't know if you have already put it in the chat.
I did put it in the chat, and if for whatever reason it didn't go through, I'll make sure it gets put in the comments.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, so I first met Osman actually about 3.5 years ago now, and it's really interesting. I had already heard his music like on YouTube several years prior, and I was just really hoping to meet him at some point in time. So I meet him after like finding his WhatsApp number in a YouTube like comment section or something, and then I meet him at the camp, and then we immediately go to his shelter and immediately just start making music with a bunch of other people who are just like there and waiting for me. And then after like several hours of making music, we're all like, wait, who are you guys? What's your name, by the way? And then we actually have introductions and everything, and then and then at some point in time, I think it was that first meeting when he sang this song. It could have been another time too, I can't quite remember, but eventually, I remember hearing it from him and being so struck, because it's so lots of spiritual songs will oftentimes superficially deal with like the lover and the beloved, who are like in very mundane terms, but actually are symbolic for one's love for God, right? That is unrequited. But this is a little bit different. It's interesting because it sounds just like that, but according to Usman, what his intention was the speaker, who was the lover, is speaking to the life of this world, right, the dunya, and basically chastising the dunya for like entrancing him and enchanting him into falling in love with the dunya, and saying at the end of the day, like this is all for naught, like you're tricking me into this sort of relationship with you that is like ultimately not what life is meant to be, so he's like, it's really interesting, yeah.
It is a kind of an inverse
yeah.
of the usual trope.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
That's brilliant.
So it is, yeah. So obviously you can take it any way you wish. There are many interpretations that you could make, but so this is Hayla Gorod Zaforibo, which means okay. So the first line, Hayla Gorod Zaforibo Zodi Zantamage, and had I known that I would have to go into the home, which is the grave, had I already known that before. And then the next line is Muhabbat ain algoritam beiman tuan fuare. I would not have fallen in love with you, oh disloyal one. So speaking to the dunya, according to Usman. Hayla gorot zaforibo zodi zantam age Muhabbat ain algoritam beiman tuar fuare beiman tuar fuare Hayla gorot zaforibo zodi zantam age Hayla gorot zaforibo zodi zantam age Muhabbat ain algoritam beiman tuar fuare beiman tuar fuare Zar ashay ashay haray eto bosor haray eto bosor Zaibar shomoy buzi loilam hotor shator for na loila hono habore Muhabbat ain algoritam beiman tuar Beseda Osman Hande, Tukoloi Mone. Beseda Osman Hande, Tukoloi Mone. Tukoloi Mone. Zeno Buze Mone Tade Bozai Kene. Ram tamasha kyan lai garode. Ram tamasha kyan lai garode. Duniya rore, beiman tuar fore. Hayla garod zafori bo, zodi zantamage. Muhabbatai no goritam beiman tuar fore. Beiman tuar fore. Muhabbatai no goritam beiman tuar fore. Beiman tuar fore. Muhabbatai no goritam beiman tuar fore. Beiman tuar fore. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, Osman's name is in the last verse, where this is typical for these songs, where the composer puts his own name, the lyricist puts his own name in the final verse of the song.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he says.
Signature at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly, the signature. Yeah, he says, Osman cries, full of sadness. Yeah.
There's invitation to be as
Exactly.
as emotive as a. No, I love that. Very expressive.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That was so lovely.
First time playing that through with you, and it just it was so lovely to be trying to catch some of the the words that I would recognize, the name dropping of the dunya as the scorned lover every now and again.
You got that, yeah.
And just taking it all in.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Thank you. That was my first time hearing you play bass live.
Yeah. This is our first time.
Which is my fault. I mean, that's unacceptable. I should have heard you before at some point in time.
No shit. And the way that for any of you watching, the way that we got to know each other was through zikr circles, and
True.
so we have been making sound and music and devotional, music together for a little while now, but just never sat down and played more from our artistic
Right.
Practices.
Yeah, didn't do the haram stuff.
Right,
Just
exactly.
kidding.
Exactly. Although there's some video that I saw recently. I'm forgetting the name of the person, but just such a joyful kind of like clap back at clerics and things like that who say that music is haram. Coming from it was a qawwali musician. And sort of quoting all of this poetry who are you to say that God didn't create?
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you
like
probably
a reel
seen the video,
on like Instagram or something.
Yeah.
I
We
know
probably
what
have
you're
some overlap in our algorithm.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what do you have for us today?
I have a couple questions for you.
Oh, okay, sure.
If you're okay with a little
I
bit
hope
more
I haven't
talking.
talked too much already. I mean, I feel like
No, we're okay.
it's
with
almost
time.
really.
Yeah, we can go over as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Sure.
I was gonna ask, for anyone who wants to support the communities that you're mentioning, or learn more about Rohingya people and music, support the musicians. Are there other resources that people can turn to that maybe we could put in the chat as well?
Oh, that's so thoughtful. Thank you for asking that. So there is a really thriving community of Rohingya refugees here in Chicago. You might be aware. There's the Rohingya Culture Center of Chicago, which is doing a lot of really great work for the entire community of refugees here, but I think also in other parts of the diaspora. And there is, there's an organization that I'm on the board of called Refugee Women for Peace and Justice. That's also doing really great work. It's newer, and it focuses on direct aid in the refugee camps. Not just aid, but also training, especially for Rohingya women. all kinds of training around just basic livelihood skills and also kind of developing people's abilities to kind of make their own products and sell their own products, like hand woven embroidery and all kinds of really beautiful stuff. There's an organization that I'm trying to get kickstarted called the Rohingya Performing Arts Center. So I'm trying to get the permissions to build this kind of center in the biggest, or like kind of most happening camp where it's mostly accessible. I mean, it's the most accessible camp in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. And yeah, we have like 50 or almost 60 musicians on the roster, all of whom are like exceptionally talented. But yeah, we're just starting to organize and get funding to kickstart the center and getting permissions for it as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can hit me up. There's also Crossing Borders Music, which is a Chicago-based organization that has been engaged with Rohingya musicians as well. I'm also kind of a liaison for them. So yeah, I would say those are some things that come to mind immediately.
Great. Those are all. I'll try to share all the links for them.
Thank you. Yeah.
Send people that way.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. So this next question, you know those, almost like those parodies that people have done of New York Times, almost like semi-anthropological articles, like you know how the New York Times and other articles like will be, they'll go to some place and try the food or try the music and then write things about it. And so people have written parodies that are doing that for the U.S., but as if you were the New York Times, travel author or something like that. And I do, and those are often very funny and very tongue-in-cheek and sort of pointing out the racial and cultural and socioeconomic dynamics of those things. But I also think there is something really beautiful about, for anyone who's an ethnomusicologist or an anthropologist or a linguist, someone who really dissects and studies and seeks to understand in a really rigorous kind of academic way, to always turn those skills to your immediate present, to the thing that you're in as well. And I was wondering if you had any observations as an ethnomusicologist about Chicago and music in Chicago and how it reflects material conditions here or the society here.
Totally, yeah. What a great way to kind of frame that question. I appreciate that, yeah. I think overall I felt that the music scene in Chicago is extremely rich and actually quite accessible, I think, compared to other scenes that like I've witnessed or I've been a part of. Like, I'm from Los Angeles, I've lived in New York City as well, but I felt that it's been really relatively easy for me to kind of meet people here in Chicago, to kind of make music with people here, to organize. I've done some arts organizing here and some other political organizing and stuff like that here in Chicago, and I felt like it's been easier to do that kind of work here than anywhere else that I've lived. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Chicago. And I mean, obviously, yeah, things are like hyper segregated, which is unfortunate, and also unfortunately a distinguishing figure of distinguishing sort of like factor, I think, of living here in Chicago. But you can find like everything. Like, I feel like it's such a blessing living here because I help organize raves. I've taught Hindustani classical music one-on-one. I've also co-directed the South Asian Music Ensemble at the University of Chicago. Yeah, I've performed like qawwali in the city, like with a group. I oftentimes will go to see jazz. I will see experimental, like new music in the city. Like, you can really find everything here. Yeah, it might not be like, there might not be 100 jazz venues, but there's like many options. Yeah, I think the scene with Rohingya musicians, like as I mentioned earlier, it was so seamless, I think, for me to be able to just like join a group of people that I don't know and just start making music with them for hours, and then kind of then everyone introduces themselves. So that sort of culture of kind of just like jamming very casually is, it does exist here as well, I think. I think especially within improvised musical traditions like jazz, especially. I think the thing with tarana get-togethers is they're very healing, and they serve a very important social function of kind of like reinforcing Rohingya community and Rohingya identity in a way that feels very different actually than jamming more like for funsies, right? Essentially, because it's also for funsies there, but it also has this very important social function and spiritual function too, because music is quite religious, I would say, as well.
And that joy is resistance under certain circumstances too. That funsies is healing and political and
exactly
all the above.
Exactly right, but it's a bit more explicit, I think, especially with the lyrics and the way in which people come with the intention of discussing really traumatic topics. And it is interesting, I will say, the way in which people sing about trauma and genocide, but with a lot of energy and kind of almost with a lot of pleasure, and people in the audience also will respond with lots of energy and pleasure. It's such that the unassuming listener might mistake it for a song about someone's birthday or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's that's also an interesting difference, I think, the way that people kind of deal with really deeply traumatic stuff in community and in song, and with there being lots of people in the audience witnessing you kind of voicing your individual trauma and also voicing the trauma of the people at large. Those are some scattered thoughts.
No, for sure. Thank you. It's really interesting to hear your perspective, both as someone who has lived in a variety of different places and someone who has all these skills as a professional, as an expert researcher and things like that, and as a practicing musician. But sort of just yet another voice that adds to something that I feel like I've observed in my years in Chicago, which is truly the profound segregation here, that it's one of the most segregated places in the U.S., if not the world. And yet, it seems that musicians are sometimes the people who are the most dedicated to crossing to the other side of the train tracks, or to going outside of the silo that the world would put you in. Even if we can still say that the infrastructure for arts, and especially entertainment, still follows the lines of segregation. And if you trace the money and the power, it's still replicating the same systems. But amongst musicians themselves, potentially some of the people who are most likely to be found in a neighborhood where the powers that be would not place them, or most likely to have gone to play with people outside of their culture or their identity or their musical genre, and that potentially there's something about the ethos of musicians in Chicago that you don't find as much in LA or New York or some other places, precisely because putting the we into the music is so powerful. And so that was definitely something I was thinking about as you were saying that tarana music is very much putting the we into it. There just seems like there's something about that matches with the ethos of a lot of musicians in Chicago.
That's such a good observation. And I think, obviously that's something that we can say generally about music, but the thing that you're pointing to about how Chicago is especially sort of representative of this phenomenon of musicians sort of crossing boundaries, I think is I would totally agree. But it's the same thing with what I witnessed with Rohingya musicians, who I would describe as being probably the most socially mobile people, or socially kind of fluid people, because they're playing with transgender artists who don't play with everyone, and they're playing with local Bengali people, they're playing with foreigners, they're playing with I think this is true of musicians in general, but you're right, I think Chicago is extra special.
Well, and feel free to be a naysayer if you disagree as well. It's always good to hear other perspectives, but I do think we've probably witnessed or experienced some of the similar things that we're both responding to. So
Totally.
There's at least some truth to it amongst some people. Shall we play a little bit more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Should we do the... is there another song that you wanted to share?
No, I'm good. I'd love to hear you. Yeah.
So this song, we were briefly playing a little bit of it in soundcheck. sound check. Just literally us sitting and messing around with this stuff. So this song called Weaver, I actually wrote by banging on a dead log in the woods. And the tones that came out just happened to be... So this entire song came about just singing to this fallen tree in the woods. And I played it in a variety of different countries with people from so many different traditions. So it's really... This log gave us this this little riff that has traveled very, very far.
I love that.
So very excited to play it with you as well.
Same.
I am the weaver. I am the weaver, straw to gold, pointing fingers, weft and spindle, from my palms aurora threads. I am the weaver. I am the weaver, straw to gold, alchemy of chaff, laugh with every spin of wheel. Ye of little faith threw me in a stack of hay. Little did you know I'd emerge a glowing halo. I am the weaver. I am the weaver, straw to gold, over, under, crest and crevice, push hands deft across the loom. I am the weaver. I am the weaver, straw to gold, mind that gathers grass, pastures waiting, gilded fields. Ye of little faith, never thought you'd see this day. Little did you know, where I weave there is a way.
I was struggling. That was like that was complex.
You picked up the melody.
I don't know.
Yeah, you picked it up so fast.
I really hope I almost did. I don't know.
No, totally. And like I said, this is one that I pull out in spontaneous situations with so many people, and there's been so many versions of it, and it's very forgiving. The log forgives.
I loved it. Oh my gosh. I wish I could see the text at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was like focusing so much on like not messing up the melody. Or
well,
whatever.
it's probably a good invitation to put the lyrics in the comments or something as well on the studio too.
Okay, so actually, could you tell me a little bit more about like what you were doing in the woods and
Sure. I have questions.
Why did you have the idea to beat the dead log?
So this was during a fellowship that I did called One Beat. That was 25 musicians from 17 different countries.
Oh.
This was in 2017. And we did our residency in Oregon, like in the middle of the woods in Oregon at this place called Caldera. And that's like a volcanic lake. And there was this trail all the way around the caldera. And so every single morning I would get up early before we started our day, and I would do an entire circle around the caldera every day through the woods. And so I got to know it pretty well, and it became this morning ritual. And there were all sorts of things that I did, to try to get to know the place with all of my senses. And I think that particular woods had gone through a wildfire a couple years prior, so there were still these signs of, trees that had been burnt or that were dead that were very striking. Not just a usual a tree falls over or something like that. So I definitely felt, I think, called to interact with those as I was getting to know the woods, and sort of like something that it had been through recently that also was renewal. That there were also benefits to the fire in that ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So that probably was the reason that I was, just interacting with it in that maybe playful toddler way of trying to use all of my senses, including the sound. I'm also just prone to picking up cool sticks, so I probably there were times where I got myself a little walking stick, and it was with a stick that I was walking with that I hit the log.
Wow,
yeah.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And was it a musical residency?
It was.
Okay, so you were already kind of primed to be like.
I was definitely in weirdo mode for sure.
Compositional mode for
yes,
sure.
No. Experimental sound, being open to the sounds of the universe type thing.
Yeah.
And we did so much improvisation together as that group in order to both build relationships. I mean, improvisation was a huge part of forming trust, both personally and musically, because there were people who came from opposite sides of conflict zones.
Yeah.
In that group, and there was no shared musical language necessarily, or no shared musical practice or musical theory. We had to do it all from scratch together. And that fellowship was very much an incubator for relationships to continue and then do even more kind of cultural, socially minded, and truth and reconciliation projects.
Wow.
So from that fellowship, I was part of a project in the Balkans, I was part of a project in Colombia. People from that fellowship through the years have done all these things in their home countries to continue to do that work. So it was kind of a little incubator, for people who are kind of like on that wavelength, musically and socially.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. And so you have performed this piece in many different contexts. Yes. Do you want to tell me about some of those contexts and how they differed, and your experience with collaborating with so many different musicians from different backgrounds for this one song?
Yeah. So some of the places that song has been performed. So definitely on both of those projects that was in the Balkans and in Colombia. And the only reason that I was involved in either of those was because the U.S. was involved in both of those conflicts. So there was this ask for some U.S. musicians to participate. And so there was a lot of, just a lot of meaning to all of the choices that went in there. But this was very much a song that was kind of an invitation, for people to participate. It was always very much more of one of those open participatory songs. I also used to play it in this project that I did for a while that went around the U.S. with a mobile recording studio and tea house that would record stories and people singing and playing, and this was often a song that I would offer. Like, I can play the song, for anyone who was sort of hanging out, recording a story, or playing their own music. So there's some versions of this song from that are really interesting. It's one that I played with some jazz musicians as well. One that can sometimes not to I don't know, speak ill of jazz musicians. So much love for jazz musicians, but sometimes underestimate song.
Yes.
And so this has been one that has both delighted and kind of been something that some jazz musicians afterwards have said. This kind of reminded me, not to underestimate, something that's just a song, right? Even as a very skilled improviser. And this song humbles me as well. Whenever you mess up on a song that you created, it's always very humbling.
But it doesn't matter because it's your song. I mean, you can't mess it up. I mean,
no, and it sort of belongs.
You're just constantly adding to it, right?
Yeah, it belongs to, again, putting the we in it. It kind of belongs to everyone at this point.
So cool. Actually, do we have a second for me to just follow up on what you were just saying? I was actually just thinking this as well earlier. I was going to ask you, like, I'm so struck by your lyricism and your poesy and just your ability to kind of articulate how you think about music and song and community and everything else. And I actually wanted to just hear more about your sort of thoughts on song and what it does, that is maybe different from instrumental music or poetry or chant, cantillation, recitation, what have you. And how you channel your musicality, your creativity, your devotion through these different mediums, and how song kind of speaks to you in a distinct way.
That's a really good question. I think, for me at least, how I experience the world is that there are some things that can only be expressed through song, particularly because it's a type of storytelling and it's a type of emoting that there's bits and pieces that are shared with other mediums, like poetry, right? Song lyrics, poetry often have a lot of overlap, but there's something that's so transformational about singing a poem compared to reciting it. And I think there's a type of, just a type of humanness that we've been telling stories through songs for a really long time. There's so much human information that only exists in songs. It's been a way of transmitting information for hundreds of thousands of years. If I'm getting the timeline of humanity correct, maybe just thousands of years, but I don't know. But there's just something about it that we respond to. And I also have some neuroscience background. I studied both music and neuroscience in underground, and there is something about we learn and retain information in songs differently than we do just reading something, just memorizing the words of something, and then also even just musical improvisation, which I have such a profound love for and participate in so regularly. It's a huge part of my practice, which is different information that lives there compared to what gets expressed through song.
Oh, I love that. It's great to hear your thoughts on this, because I do think music theory is so discussed and so well known as a subfield of music studies, but song theory is actually something that's a little kind of absent. And so this is actually something that a friend of mine and I have been thinking about, what if we just put together a conference or something, a little symposium on theorizing song. And so I think you should definitely be there.
I would be honored. I would love to just even be a fly on the wall. I mean, I'm such a nerd about this stuff, I read about how there's linguists and anthropologists who believe that human language emerged from imitating bird song.
Yeah.
And that we've just been like this for a really long time.
Yeah, there've been various theories on birdsong and how that relates to human song. And actually S.M. Tagore, who was this musicologist from the 19th century, leading into the 20th century, but he had this whole theory on evolution and sexual selection, and kind of modeled on like birdsong and like human being. His whole like idea about like the genesis of like music was like all about sexual selection and evolution. Yeah. But I don't really know if the musicians really make the best or something. I don't really know. Maybe there might be some truth there, but anyway, you know, whatever.
But there's something about socializing, right? That is bonding.
Of course.
It increases social bonds, which can help increase the chances of survival in a lot of different ways. Which goes back to resilience and joy and all these things that we continue to see in our day-to-day, whether it's Chicago or a Rohingya refugee camp. I mean, it's something we continue to lean on to help us keep going.
100%. Amen. All right. Well.
Do we want to close out with just like a little couple minute, just like some sort of drone kind of improvisatory thing?
I'd love to. Yeah, let's do it.
You pick the key.
I pick the key? Okay. Okay, let's stick to D then for now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if we should like
Yes.
embrace.
Of course.
That was beautiful.
So
Thank you so
lovely.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who
Thank you
tuned
to
in. I'll
everyone.
be putting more in the comments and everything. Thank you, Tomal.
Thanks.